Okay, so we're back with the same GUI underscore button file, and we're going to play around with it a little bit. So there are various commands you can do, and to change uh, the characteristics of this button, and it's sort of fun. So we can change the color of the text on the button. So we want to say the foreground, which is the color of the text, we want to set it to equal to blue. All right, and then the background, so BG, to be equal to red, or what have you. Since it defaults to black and gray, we want to play around with it. Let's see what happens here. So you play it, and so the background, as you can see, is red, and the foreground, the text, is blue. It's pretty cool. So, and there are other things you can do to the shape of the button as well. And so, how we can change the shape and of the buttons is pretty simple, and all these functions are inside the Kinter library is pretty intuitive. And as we talk about later on in the module, we'll talk about the origin system, or the coordinate system that Kinter uses to draw various texts, or not text, shapes. But in this case, we can use that coordinate system to also size the size of buttons. So everything is based off of the origin 00, which is in the top left-hand corner of a button of a dialog box. So I'll show you an example. We'll say we want this button to be 50 pixels long and another 50 pixels tall. And that looks like it should check out, and we'll go ahead and run this program. And as you can see, now the button is huge. It's 50 pixels long and tall, and 50 pixels along this way. So that's the grid reference system. The top left-hand pixel right here is the origin 00, and it goes to the left and down accordingly. So you click me, it does the same function, it's just a little bit bigger. So let's take these basic ideas and expand upon them into more complicated program using Kinter and buttons. All right, here we have a fresh start, a fresh slate. We want to look at a concept here called Info Dialog Boxes. Now, Info Dialog Boxes are exactly what they sound like. They're a dialog box that shows information to the user, and we import those by calling Kinter, but also asking to import another box in from or another function in from Kinter. So let's go ahead and import Kinter, and let's also import Kinter, but we also want to import the message box, right? And let's set up a class, and we'll call the class myGUI. And what we want this class to do is we want it to create a main window, and then create a button widget within that window that says click me, and when you click it, it pops up a dialog box that tells the user something, right? So let's go ahead and use a initialization, and it's called self.main window. and we want it to initialize Kinter. We'll set up this particular instance of Kinter to create the main window. And here we want to create the button. And in that, we want to call main window and then text will be click me, and we'll make the command equals self dot do something, and we'll define what that something is a little bit later. And then we want to pack that button so that it is centered up. And then we want to call the main loop. So now let's define the function do something. So here we want to call Kinter message box. That's show info. And what we want it to show is the response that will be in the top of the message box, be the name of the message box, of the info box that's going to pop up. I want to tell the user, thanks for clicking the button. So now that we've done that, let's create an instance of the MyGUI class, and let's review what we've done here. So we've imported the Kinter library, we imported the ability to make an info box, created the MyGUI class, initialized the class here, set up an instance of the Kinter module, the Kinter library, and then we've used a button to, and then we told the button to say, click me. And then that when you click that button, the command goes to a function that's defined as do something. Jumps to do something. Now the do something will create a info box, and the info box will pop up and say response is thanks for clicking the button. Now that button will be centered because we packed it, and the Kinter GUI box will loop until you tell it to stop by exiting out of the box. So let's go ahead and try to run this dialog box. Let's go ahead and click me, and now we have the response. So we'll go ahead and exit out of this, and let's go over the second type of button that I want to go over in this this section is quit, the quit function. Okay, so we're going to use the same functions that we've, same program that we used before with the info box, and let's go ahead and add in and modify it so that it adds in a quit button, so that you don't have to necessarily exit out the program using the X button on the dialog box. Now what this button does is when you create the quit button, when you click it, the root widget destroys the method that it's called, so it stops the looping of the GUI. So let's go ahead and modify this my GUI class. All right. So we'll say here that we want to create a self.quit button. And we want to say Kinter.button will be self.main window. And then we want text to say quit. And then we want the command to equal to self.main_window.destroy. Right? And so what that does is exits the loop, right? And then here we also want to pack that button. And so we want to say .quit button.pack. So that's centered up along with the my button. So let's go ahead and run the info dialog program as is. So as you can see, you have to click me, and it says thanks for clicking. Same with the response. Let's go ahead and click it again. It still works. But instead of exiting out of here, we hit click. We click quit. And what we did, if you look at it, is we when we clicked quit, it initiated the command destroy window, which exited out of the loop. So that's all I wanted to go over in this section. And in the next section, we will go over more widgets within Kinter.